Hello, everybody. Welcome to another inspiration episode of Art Whisper 88. Today, my artist inspiration is one of my favorites. He's the French-Russian artist Serge Poliakoff, and he was born in Moscow in the 1900s. And he was the 13th of 14 children. His dad was a Kyrgyz, one of the ethnic groups in Russia, Central Asia, and his dad supplied the army with horses that he bred himself. And his mom was very religious, and his mom would take him to church almost every day when he was a child, and he was greatly influenced by the rich colors of the Russian Orthodox Church, and especially with the icons that were surrounding the interiors. He fled Russia in 1918. He arrived in Constantinople, which is now present-day Istanbul, in 1920, and he made a living by playing the guitar. So he worked as a cabaret entertainer to make ends meet. And later in his life, he moved to Paris, and he decided to study art and painting because of his artistic background. And the rest is history. I am greatly influenced by his sense of composition and color. And here is an example of the inspiration piece that I have chosen. I'm going to interpret this in a portrait mode because this is more of a landscape, and going to use some of his rich colors. So I have arranged here my reusable stencils on my gel plate. This is an 18 by 24 gel plate, which is the largest gel plate in production. And I do enjoy using it because it is very easy to do demonstrations on camera, as opposed to working on a very small space. So anyway, I will start by putting a layer of phthalo blue. This is by Acrylic, and this is phthalo green. Now a little note, this is a shop practice. I'm using my small brayers. What I had done is I put some baby oil in my eyedropper here, and before printing I always put a little drop of baby oil on the hinges, because after washing and soaking, these guys tend to squeak, and the squeaking is distracting during filming. So it's a good idea to lubricate your brayers before working, unless you don't mind the squeaky noise. So I'm going to go ahead with some phthalo green. So the first layer will be a dark blue-green. This is actually a new bottle, so it has a seal. It keeps it fresh. There we go. So I will start with some of the phthalo green. It's a really beautiful color. I like it a lot. Now, I don't know if you can see this. The extender or the clear medium is separating from the paint because it's a new bottle. So that clear medium is what allows the paint to pick up ghost prints. And that's why I like to use the acrylic. Now, I've had comments from viewers who ask me, why don't you place the stencils after you ink the plate? I could do that, but I tend to change my mind a lot when I do arranging, because it's like arranging a puzzle. And sometimes the pieces work, sometimes they don't. And then I rearrange and take them off and then put them back. So this method works better for me. I would rather decide where the placements are first and then start applying the paint. Okay, this is really a highly textured background. Before I do anything else, I will just wipe down the edges. Sometimes the paint goes over the edge and creates a raggedy edge. Okay, I'm gonna look for my tweezers. And I also apologize if I am too noisy with my breathing. It's because I have a serious allergy problem. I'm going to see a doctor tomorrow because I have nasal congestion, and I'm sorry if it's too noisy. Okay, it's these little guys that are very easy to overlook. Okay, yeah. So the next step will be to dry this. Now this is a very critical step, because if you don't dry the first layer, it's not going to work. It's going to make a big mess. unless that's your intention. There's nothing wrong with that. But for my intents and purposes, each layer has to dry first. And I will make use of my ceiling fan to help me. Okay, the first layer has dried very well. I'm going to start with some Naples Yellow by Lucas. And I'm just going to assign some small areas. Now this time I will start rolling them out because I want the areas to be more distinct. Going to follow up with this cadmium orange deep. Finally, some vermilion. So I'm going to try to spread all these colors as evenly and as thinly as I can. And hopefully this second layer will activate the first one. And then we have a good transfer. Now, since this is a very large plate, there are very slight dips which are not visible to the naked eye, but I can feel the little dips, kind of like potholes. When I roll over them, I can feel that the brayer goes down a little bit, and so I have to be careful to get the paint into those dips or depressions. Okay, now I will just add a few marks with my silicone tool. Okay. Again, this is Richardson paper, 22 by 30. Now, I've had many questions from viewers about this piece here. This is a gift from a very good friend who is a woodworker. Actually, the purpose of this is just as a barrier to hold the paper in place so it always falls in the same place. You can make your own with a piece of molding or a piece of plastic, whatever you can use. It's the same purpose. All it is a wall or a border or a guide, so the paper doesn't go beyond this point. Now I have a video explaining how to construct a registration device with very simple objects, just like two pieces of wood. I will put that in the description box below. So you do not need elaborate setups to have good registration. You can always make something with inexpensive materials and be more resourceful. Okay, so I will leave this for about 5 minutes as usual, and I will be right back. Okay, it's been about 5 minutes. Let's see how we did. This is exciting. I hope the paper doesn't tear. I think it's a good transfer, and I do like the interesting textures that it produces. Now it is really stuck on the plate, so I have to be careful. And for some reason it's easier to pull this at an angle. Like so. Okay, I like this result. It's very vibrant, very brilliant. So I will air dry this first because I plan to put a third layer, probably a light color. I'm still debating if it should be iridescent or just standard color. I'll figure it out. Okay, ready for the third layer. I have here more of an angular shape as opposed to the donut shapes that I usually use. They were just washed, so they're still a little wet. Okay, now I decided I'm going to use iridescent white. This is a different brand. This is Soho acrylic. And this iridescent white might be a little more opaque, but I'm going to give it a try. I want maximum contrast with the darker first layer. So I'm going to see how this works out. This is also a little thicker. It's more of a heavy body paint. It's not as fluid as the Amsterdam. But I want to give it a try. So to start off, I'm going to use a small roller and flatten some areas. This is why I like using a small brayer, because I can get into the tight spaces. Now this may seem a little tedious, but it's worth the effort. When I pull that paper off the plate, it's such a rewarding experience. All that work pays off. And in the past, I've been tempted to do high-speed time lapse, and I've received some complaints from my faithful viewers who said, please don't do time lapse. We want to see you in real time. And I can understand, because making art is not a high-speed process, unlike working in a mass production factory. It takes time and patience and a lot of thought. Okay. And I am deliberately doing random directions. Just to add some additional textures. Okay. These are so much easier to see because it's a very light color. So this is the first layer, very bright reds and orange. Hopefully the iridescent white will give a nice contrast, give it a sense of depth. So again, I will leave this on for about 5 minutes to give the paper a chance to absorb the paint. Okay, here's the exciting part. The part that you've been waiting for. It's kind of an incomplete transfer, but the result is nevertheless very interesting. I think it's pretty cool. In fact, I can show you a close-up right now because it's fairly... And I'm glad the iridescent white is not too opaque. It does show what's underneath pretty much. But because it's a thicker consistency, it tends not to transfer completely. That's all right. That's the nature of monoprinting. But you get these interesting textures because it's imperfect. It's these imperfections that actually I find very attractive. So I hope you like this tribute to my favorite artist, Serge Poliakoff. I encourage you to look up his biography and his history of artwork. I think it is very revolutionary and underappreciated outside of France. So thank you so much for watching and subscribing. Please check out artwhisperer88.com. Now these pieces are for sale at a very reasonable price with free shipping within the United States. And the proceeds go to help keep my channel going. Thank you again, and I hope to see you next time.